Hey everyone, welcome to the Revelations Radio Network. My name is Frank Lordi, and what you are about to hear is an informal roundtable-like discussion between myself, Chris White from Nowhere to Run, Mark Ciasullo from The Final Countdown, and eventually Amos Ridley, who didn't even realize he was being recorded at the time from the Truth Stream podcast. So just like last week's unofficially named The Frank and Chris Show, this is a further extension of that, and hopefully there'll be more shows like this to come with different hosts from the Revelations Radio Network, and hopefully lots of other guests and formal and informal discussions about lots of different things. Really, we just kind of want to keep it loose, and hopefully you'll enjoy this discussion, just a small fraction of the amount that I actually enjoyed partaking in it. So let's get started. Here is what we will now dub the Revelations Roundtable discussion that took place into the wee morning hours of May 1st, 2008.
Mark, what do you got going on? What's been going on with you this week?
Like I said, I'm open. I'll find to talk on whatever subject you might like to talk on. The last 2 weeks have been very hectic for me. I've had difficulty even getting a podcast up. I've been waiting on Stephanie, who, as you may know, does some podcasts with me. She's been unfortunately very sick, and I was hanging on her doing her part 3 in the National Sunday Law podcast, which never materialized. Started to do a little research on indigo children. Got pretty far with that, but not quite to the point where I was ready to do the cast, and that's pretty much where I've left off this week.
That's interesting. What did you find about indigo children? I've never really, a very cursory look into it. I know Michael Tsarian teaches them at Berkeley and whatnot, but what did you find out?
Well, from what I'm finding, it really is a new age mindset. There really doesn't seem to be a lot of substance there. It's a new age mindset, and it's seems to be attempting, at least from where I stand, to convince us that a lot of these children who've been diagnosed with ADHD, learning disorders of various types, are actually being turned around and placed on some type of a pedestal. A lot of the characteristics that we see in ADHD children or children with learning disorders are actually being promoted as the very things that we, the supposedly lesser evolved, should be learning from, as opposed to teaching. So it's kind of like this, this switch or this musical chairs that seems to be being played, with these learning disorders.
Huh. Yeah, I'm just going to touch on this for a second, but I found, after you told me a couple weeks ago you were looking into that, and
right.
I was listening to some really bad 80s music, and I came across a song that I'm quite convinced is about them, and I've been kicking around another podcast dealing with music and actually dealing with just a lot of the stuff that I grew up listening to that plays into either New World Order stuff or New Age beliefs and whatnot. And this was a very popular song for at least a time during my youth. And I don't know if you guys know the band White Lion at all, but it's a song by them. And I look up White Lion, and I find out that this was a bar or a tavern in England where I guess it played an integral part in the evolution of Freemasonry in England. It was a notorious Freemason hub. And I was like, holy cow. It's so obvious when you listen to the song that it's about them. And I guess at some point I'm going to put that together and play it for everybody. But, it's just so weird.
Are you finding a connection between Freemasonry and indigo children? Is that?
I think I find a connection between Freemasonry and just about everything. You don't have to look very far to find it.
Yeah, I follow where you're
one thing about them, it seems like, eventually they're going to be indigo adults, and it seems like there could be something there. I don't know. I do think that it just does seem like preparation for something else. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. As I said, I haven't looked into it, so I don't really know. So I'd be interested to see what you find out and what you find interesting about it.
Right. Well, like I said, I'm only partially, through the research. Downloaded probably 30, 40 pages of copy that I'm in the process of going through. They do claim, or the New Age types do claim that they are the next spiritual evolution, that they're actually more evolved than we are. And that we should be learning from them, but I still have a bit to go before I'll actually, sit down and try to do a recording on it.
Do they make any suggestions that they're like possibly starseed children or anything like that?
Well, I think that I think a lot of those terms are actually almost interchangeable. I hear crystal children, starseed children, indigo children, and that's what I'm trying to sort out. Is where the crossovers come in. What distinguishes one from the other. And at this point, it's not really that clear. There are some websites that you can go to that actually talk about indigo children, and I'm in the process of digging through those websites. But, like I said, I really want to make sure I get a lot of this information put together and understand it a little better myself before I try to, expound on what I'm seeing and where it fits into the overall scheme of things.
Right. It's interesting because I think a lot of times, especially with some deeper personalities of some of the mind-controlled people, that they are always told by their handlers that they are half Nephilim or have Nephilim blood or something to that effect, because one of the reasons is that they will believe that they're not able to be saved, not able to be redeemed, the rest of it, so they think that and as a reason to keep doing whatever it is they're doing, or kind of a backup plan if they ever do get confronted with Jesus, honestly. So, and I don't know. I really do think like the Blavatsky whole idea that that's what they were trying to isolate people that had Nephilim blood to rule and everything. So I could see that when some kind of big onslaught of some sort of alien thing, these guys will be prepped for future rulers. But I don't know how old they are. I'm sure some of them are pretty old by now, and so once that idea becomes mainstream, they'll be the perfect candidates to do whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Well, you can see in researching indigo children that they are deemed by those who are supposed to be in authority over them as privileged, as privileged children. And so, I can only imagine that if you take a child who has, to some degree, some type of a learning disability, and you start to reinforce with them the fact that they are more privileged than others, that they are special, that there's something unique about them, that might be a good way to pull them back from receiving something such as Christianity, where humility is a big part of it, where recognizing, one's shortcomings and one's faults are a part of accepting Jesus Christ, because here you're taking these children and you're kind of, again, setting them on a pedestal and making them feel that nothing they do is wrong, everything that they do should be accepted, that they're operating on some higher plane, and those that don't understand them simply don't understand them. So I can see where that could certainly, move those children away from ever looking at salvation as something that they might need.
Yeah, and it makes them ruthless probably as rulers too, because they would be heartless and that they are, so much more special and all that.
Exactly. I think it's a very dangerous way to handle children that perhaps are special needs children.
I'm sure Michael Tsarian is taking good care of them and teaching them exactly what they need to know, so you don't have to worry.
As long as we know they're in good hands.
Right.
Let me just throw in a little nonsense here to go along with that. Now, I overkilled the Star Wars stuff already, but for the people out there that are hip to the Star Wars flicks, there is this ongoing theme in Star Wars where, Luke is going to be trained by Yoda, and Yoda says, no, I can't teach him, he's too old. And then when you get into the prequel trilogy, you have what are called younglings, which are basically these privileged, powerful children that have an elite blood in them, a special content within their blood that allows them to have all of these magical, mystical abilities, and they're all ushered off into this temple where they are trained in the Jedi arts. You know, it kind of plays right along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing in The Matrix, too. You had the young spoon-bending children and all that.
Yep.
Being trained by the Oracle.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I just kind of killed that topic.
No, I think we'd pretty much run its course. What about you, Frank? What have you been doing this week?
I just did a show tonight. I don't know. I talked more about Rush Limbaugh and that Operation Chaos thing. I don't know if you guys heard his latest, but he's basically openly calling for riots at the Democratic National Convention, dreaming of riots, which in essence would be racially motivated, of course, if, you know, the thing is stolen from Obama or people perceive it's being stolen from Obama. I went off on a tirade about that, so I probably shouldn't even get too deep into it, but that and the stuff with Iran and just more of this ratcheting up of trying to demonize Iran and basically, I don't know, there's just so much that goes into it, but it doesn't take very long to like look and just do simple Google searches to find how many different countries have energy deals pending with Iran right now. And you're talking about everybody from China to Russia to different countries in Europe to Pakistan. Ahmadinejad's in India or was just in India. I mean, if we end up going to war with Iran, we are not going to have any support from like anyone. And you know, I who knows? I bought into and failed miserably to understand a year ago that you really cannot trust anything in the news. And I was really convinced that we were going to see, you know, just all hell breaking loose in the Middle East last summer because of countless news reports saying it's going to come next summer, last summer. But, you know, it didn't happen. So, you know, God only knows what's going to happen. But I don't know. It just seems more and more and more like our country is being led down a path of quick and painful destruction. So, I don't know. That's pretty much what I've been looking at lately.
When is the Democratic National Convention?
Oh, you know what?
It's not tomorrow, is it?
No, it's
okay.
It's not for a while.
The reason I ask is because in the context of the riot thing is tomorrow, May Day, I think it's tomorrow, is I just listened to somebody do this the other day. It was Matt Kazee. He had just listed all the riots that had happened on May Day, and all these things that had happened on May Day was just very, I don't know, for whatever reason, I could only assume that it's some sort of ritual or something, but the riot factor for tomorrow is through the friggin' roof. It's like it's everything, everywhere, every year. It's something crazy. And there's also, I wish I could pull that show up. Matt Kazee, you might be able to find it with May Day. It was probably find that out pretty quickly. So that's interesting to note. And also, did you see the news story that Iran dropped the dollar stopped accepting dollars for their currency today?
They did that today?
I saw the news. The news report was dated today. They probably, who knows when they did it.
I don't know. For the record, the Democratic National Convention is August 25th to the 28th. And I actually thought that Iran did that a while ago. I mean, he's been calling for it for a long time. I don't know. That's just going to happen everywhere, or the whole world is just going to fall into economic chaos.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead. I had agree with Frank there. I thought that Iran had done that quite some time ago. Well, not too long ago, but had dropped the dollar a while ago for oil. And I think some of the concern was that the other countries might begin to follow suit.
Right. I saw that they had mentioned that it had done that, and it was an InfoWars article dated today on InfoWars, and it says something about that in the article. I just read it right before we got on here. I couldn't say if it